Hello and welcome once again to the Dr. Zeero Xiron Free Magic Secrets Show, where we have today for you a very special Christmas episode, or as we like to say around the Zero parts, an Antichristmas special. So we're going to talk today about the three negative veils, which has to do with the Tree of Life. And when you look at the first Sephira there at the tippy top of the tree, you'll see those three curved lines ahead of them. And these are the three negative veils. And it's one of the more mysterious aspects of the Tree of Life. I mean, the whole Tree of Life is mysterious in and of itself, though we do have a roadmap. So pretty simple. I'm going to read from you today from a book called The Ladder of Lights by William G. Gray, which is called A Step-by-Step Guide to the Tree of Life and the Four Worlds of the Kabbalists, including the angelic and archangelic realms. So this is actually a really amazing book. It's one of the best books I've ever read concerning the Sephira in and of themselves. It doesn't really get into the paths between the different Sephirots. And if you're just stepping into this, you don't know what I'm talking about. The Tree of Life is the central glyph or schematic that you will find in Western magic. And all the old ceremonial magicians, once upon a time, were obsessed with it. The Golden Dawn was obsessed with it. Aleister Crowley was obsessed with it. All kinds of people. And all religions have kind of picked this thing up and used it in their own way, and found some kind of relevance from it. And if you didn't know, the tarot cards work as educational flashcards. The 1 through 10 of the suits of whatever suit you have is the 1 through 10 of the Sephirot bubbles on the Tree of Life, and the tarot trumps are the paths in between those bubbles. So just saying that real quick, once again, if you had no idea. So I'm just going to read very simply from this book. And this all has to do about returning to the zero state. So where else better to get that from Dr. Zeero? So, Ein Sof are the three negative veils. Beyond the Sephirot, or creative consciousness, we come to the most important concept of all, nothingness, which we might otherwise term nirvana. Nothing can define nothing, and yet it is everything. The Kabbalah attempts to symbolize the emanation of all from nil by using a light analogy. First, nothing, Ein, then a condition of limitlessness, Ein Sof, and then enlightened limitlessness, the Ein Sof are, and lastly, firstly, the single condensed light of Keter. Thus, we are helped to arrive at nothing by degrees. Why should we arrive at nothing? If for no other reason, because there is so much of it and so little of us as individual beings. Take a single human life. So far as its living soul is concerned, all that was before its birth and after its death as a mortal is nothing. If its I, Ani, could become its not I, Ein, it would be all. Once Ein and Ani equate, we are truly fulfilled. Material man spends life after life grabbing lumps of matter like babies grab sand or mud, thinking they are so much bigger and more important because of such temporal acquisitions. The enlightened initiate recognizes the supreme importance of acquiring nothing in the true sense of its meaning, and devotes living time to this vital task. Such is the significance of working uninvolved, or detachment. Only those outside anything can truly deal with it. This is the reverse of indifference or lack of interest. It is complete concern from all angles, or encompassment. The Ein, zero, or zero, in which all is, the getting outside ourselves that leads us to divinity. Perhaps we might attempt to arrive at the nil concept by meditation on the phrase, nothing is all, everything isn't. We might also consider that anything is something, because the rest of everything is its nothing. However we tackle the task, we must certainly approach the Ein Sof R concept as an all-inclusive one. If Keter is a dot, then Ein Sof R is the circle around it. Our modern conditioned minds resist the nil concept because of fear and indolence. Thus, we lose access to the everything we might otherwise become, for zero is the sum of every number. If only we could change our attitude to nothing, all would be possible to us. Nothing is what we will not be, and never what we cannot be. Nothing devalues nothing but our own non-will toward it. We cannot become anything without nothing. Our whole ideas of nothing must be completely redesigned and opened out into the key concept that will lead us to immortal life in everlasting truth. Once and for all, we must break the chains of ignorance, fear, and foolishness that bind us to our present useless nil concepts, and restore zero to its original position of paramount importance over the tree of life. It is vital to vitality. To grasp even a proportion of the true significance of nil, Ein, is to enter a new existence. This was why the old form of communion in the mysteries had the apparently negative formula. There is no part of me that is not part of whatever divinity was approached. It was also the reason for the empty Holy of Holies in the temple, which held nothing but the echo of an annually uttered word. Moreover, if we reverse the name of God, Al or El, we have Nil, La. Our difficulty in approaching Ein Sof R is that we have no sense of nothing, but only sense of somethings. Maybe our best way to approach is like the advised to Tom in the Water Babies, backwards, with dog for a guide, for dog is God reversed. So we must advance away from the manifest, allowing the God in us to point our pathway, limitless light being behind us. We must remember that light is invisible. We do not see light, but only what it illuminates. Once we are in the light, we shall be beyond vision. In the words of an old invocation, the state of Ein Sof R is likened to a lightless world, yet radiant with light, a soulless world, yet filled with soul. Again, there is a simile of a light shining backwards, revealing darkness. There is also the description of St. John, light shining in the darkness, yet unknown to darkness. All these are invaluable meditation points for contacting Ein Sof R, at least to some degree. Nothing is for being with. Whatever we will be, this automatically implies that we will not be everything else. It is like the sculptor rejecting the unwanted stone around the statue his mind had already created in the block. Nothing is the first and last of all, being the prerequisite of creation and the final essential of existence. As such, it is the supreme state of spirit. In working magical rites, the operator constructs a zero circle and banishes from it all concepts other than those to be dealt with. If we could develop the art of doing likewise in ordinary thinking, it would be of the utmost advantage to us. Hence the training given to initiates in clearing back the mind to nothing, at least as far as possible, taking a single concept, dealing with it, and then clearing back to nothing again. In Kabbalism, our new concept is the Ein Sof R, of course, and basic meditations are carried out in achieving a semblance of zero by working through inner experiences of being in limitless light, then just limitlessness, and so through to the nil or Ein. Once we can reach the nil state at will, we can use it every time we need to bring new concepts through from the Ein they all emanate from. Ex nihil omnis est. Many failures in occult workings come from not clearing back to a zero state before commencing operations. So-called banishing has little to do with expelling local demons or evil spirits. Its proper purpose is to create a state of nothing around the working point. This is not unlike providing a sterile culture medium for a single life form to develop in. Whether or not we are working magic, the principle of banishing is a very sound one. A rite should be started with a clear altar top. and thoughts are most effective in a cleared mind, as a cleared soul is best for spirit to enter. Achievement of zero is universally necessary. There is an old tale about a kingdom suffering from such afflictions that it was generally felt that nothing but tremendous sacrifices to the gods would avert future evils. Wealthy people heaped up gold and valuables on the altars. Animal and even human lives were offered in vain. Eventually, an old blind beggar crawled to the temple door, and lifting up his empty cupped hands, he prayed, "O great one, I have nothing to offer you. Take it, for it is all I possess." This one righteous prayer was heard, and the affliction ceased troubling the people. The point of the tale, however, is the supreme value of nothing. Until we learn how to estimate and appreciate the nil concept at its true worth, and discover how to live through it, we shall not make our best progress on the path. This is really the main difference between Eastern and Western philosophical outlooks. Eastern systems have realized the importance of the nil concept, and few Western ones have made a great deal of it, except to muddle its meaning beyond hope of comprehension or approach. The Kabbalah accords it pride of place over the whole of life, and having done so, leaves further investigation to individual initiates. All must find nil their own way. The value of Ein is that of the middle pillar, or the exact nil point between extremities of polarity. It is the absolute stillness in the midst of motion, the never encompassing ever. It is the essence of God. We are only playing with words and attempting to describe the indescribable. Who has ever explained the scent of a rose by verbal symbols? Words can do no more than encourage people to seek such experiences for themselves, and if so much is indeed accomplished, then a miracle of sorts has occurred. To explain the meaning of nothing is impossible. Unless we constantly seek the impossible, we shall miss our ultimate goal at the other end of nowhere. The nil concept leads us everywhere, and nothing else will take its place. Sooner or later in life, we must let go of its tree branches and establish our own existence. The monkey must become a bird. The serpent must take wing. True detachment is necessary before a seed separates from its parent tree and grows by itself. Gautama said, "Where there is self, there is no truth. Where there is truth, there is no self." This dictum should be carefully approached in the light of Ein Sof Ar, and it will reveal the way leading behind the negative veils. We Westerners are so caught up in the futilities of our frenzied activities that we have lost contact with the inner realities of existence, and until we lead ourselves into proper linkage with these vitalities, we cannot live in the true peace of Ein. That is the pearl before the swine, the rejected stone, the golden pavement we tread unnoticed beneath our restless feet. We shall never have everything until we truly have nothing. The real value of things is to lead us out of themselves into the truth of their no-selves. It is said that once a thief stole a precious stone from a holy image. Its guardian monks were wildly upset, but their wise old abbot told them, "The foolish thief took only what will bring trouble and murder around it from the stupidity of mankind. He left our greatest treasure alone, for who can steal peace profound? You are greater thieves than he that took a mere stone, for you are wantonly rejecting our most priceless possession. Peace, therefore, brethren." The art of true living might almost be summed up as being all and doing nil, not practicable in mortal bodies on this earth, but approachable all the same. After all, our approach to the most distant star must be made from plain common earth. Once we obtain even a glimmering of the Ein Sof Ar, we have only to keep its glow on our screens, and it will lead us into its light eventually, for it is the only permanent possession we shall ever have. Nothing. The trend of our civilization allows us to regard nil in completely the wrong way, and we should reverse our polarity towards it. We neglect nothing at our greatest cost, for it is the universal element, the ultimate thought, and the unique source of all energy. Once we reach enough spiritual stature to direct the power from the nil, we become as gods. And when everything means nothing to us, all will be possible. The supreme negation and the omnipotent affirmation are identical. What we consider our normal consciousness or intellect is totally inadequate for nil functioning. This is why God cannot be quote-unquote proved by any human thought method, and is the terrible weakness of so-called scientific reasoning. Orthodox science has so shackled itself mentally that even the most hidebound and outdated religious dogmas allow greater scope for exploration than modern matter-based mentalization. Since what we regard as nothing is a normal state of divine existence in the peace that passes understanding, we must either find ways of linking with such a state or live otherwise in lesser conditions. It may be said, no one can be consciousness of nothing. Literally true. Therefore, we must become no one, unconscious of nothing. But conscious, if such unimaginable negation can be termed consciousness, with, by, and through nothing. Light without sight. Thought without thinking. Life without living. Every occult system experiments with methods of nil approach, from the simple effort of making the mind a blank to the most elaborate banishing rites. Mystics of every school instinctively reach toward the ain by whatever name they may use for the supreme state. Trances, suspended animation, and endless tricks of the trade have been attempted since the inception of the mysteries. The natural question is, why bother to go looking for nothing rather than wait for simple death? Mystics and occultists do not regard death as nothing, nor do Kabbalists recognize death at all, save as the final loss of soul identity. To reach spiritual identity in and with Ain is the Kabbalistic ultimate, like the Buddhist nirvana. Only nothing contains everything, and equating with Ain is a very different achievement to temporary disassociation from a physical body. Such is the answer to the ritual question. What does the cup or grail contain? Nothing. The hearer might be capable of two reactions, disappointment and misunderstanding, or realization of the incalculable significance indicated by the symbolism of an empty cup. Only a soul ready to accept such profundity can find all in nil. None but a God makes totality from zero. What we are not makes us what we are. The major commandments are all thou shalt not, and the golden rule is phrased, do not unto others what you would not they did to you. Again and again, nil value is stressed throughout scriptures and in traditional teaching. Unbeing must be. Being must unbe. That is the law of all, which is necessarily beyond our understanding. Life is a continual striving to become what it is not. An old proverb says, enough is always just a little more than we shall ever have. Humanity on earth seeks blindly for more of everything. More money, more possessions, more advantages, more importance, more anything, more destruction, more instability, more humans. The initiate seeks more nothing, more light, more peace. This does not mean some kind of isolated selfishness, nor does it signify self-sacrifice for no valid purpose. The attainment of aim is infinitely greater than such maudlin sentiments. It is love in its own true dimension of being, for it embraces and sustains all. Only aim leads us into ultimate light, from whence there is no return, because it operates in nil. The way to aim has been called the path of renunciation or non-attachment, but this does not mean the mere disposal of worldly possessions, since if mental or emotional attachments to them exist, they would still be belongings. Real renunciation is an inner liberation, and not spectacular external sacrifices. It must be a painless and normal process, because if non-attachment causes suffering, then a basic desire for attachment is still in being. The middle way lies at the nil point between pain or pleasure, and Kabbalistically it is termed Kav Ha-Emdzai, center line, which is the perimeter of the zero circle we are seeking with Ein. What the uninitiated cannot possibly grasp to the slightest degree is the advantage of exchanging outer things for inner nothing. They say with horror, "What? You mean you are living for nothing and have only nothing to offer me? You are an idiot, and I shall not waste my time with you." The initiate smiles. Nothing is not to be understood, but realized. Nil cannot be grasped, but is to be grown into. The tree of life must have nothing around it, that it may grow at all. What are we anyway? Are we bodies, minds, souls, spirits? We are the nothing, which is all of us. The uninitiated put nothing last, and the initiate puts it first. There cannot be a one unless zero preceded it. Keter could not be, except from Ein, nor could Malkut exist without its opportunity of becoming Ein. The nil concept can be a dangerous one for they that regard it as a license for apathy, indolence, or irresponsibility of any kind. Such would be a negation of negation, and Ein is to be affirmed, not denied. We must be the Ein, otherwise we shall be not nothing as we already are. This is to become the loudest silence, the most stirring stillness, and the most solid void. It is the most plethoric plus of the mightiest minus. Reason, judgment, logic, and scientific thinking are absolutely valueless tools for finding Ein. So are emotions, feelings, and sensibilities. Pure faith, opened to 0 point and directed at infinity, is man's most practical. I'm going to restart that. This is a really good line. Pure faith open to 0 point and directed at infinity is man's most practicable missile for attainment of the ultimate target. Who can speak of silence, show stillness by motion, or make all into nil? We others can but accept the inestimable blessing of this mystery. When first and last unite, the zero of Ein invites us into God. We have climbed the tree of life beyond itself through limitless light into the boundlessness, and ultimately reached the completion of nothing. What more could we possibly attain? All is reflection. Reality is zero. So, thanks for stopping by the Dr. Zeero Free Magic Secret Show. I hope that illuminates a little bit of why I chose my name. There's an awful lot there. And if you understand what I was just ranting about for the past 20 minutes, I'll make a whole lot more sense. So anyway, thanks again for stopping by the Dr. Zeero Xiron Free Magic Secret Show, where we investigate all forms of magic. We do supervillain monologues for all your supervillain needs and supernatural supervillainy and such. And hit the subscribe button. Let people know I exist. Post these videos on Facebook groups or Reddit or chat groups, wherever you pop up. That would be helpful because we got to spread these messages across the interwebs. So that much stated, as always. There will be more episodes in the future about all kinds of things. We're going to get back to just talking about magic in general. We're going to get away from the supervillain monologues. But do feel free to write in with more supervillain questions. So that much said, as always, hail Arkham. And here's your hot rockin' outro. Later, kids. Bye.